If you would like to learn horizontal chop technique, come and watch this video. Here I'm going to show you horizontal chop technique in slow motion in two cases. Actually, your capsular rhexis should be in good size, around 5.5 millimeter in diameter, and your hydrodissection should be complete. Usually, I prefer to do viscodissection to separate the cortex away from the nucleus. Then I use the chopper to rotate the nucleus to be sure it's free from the capsule, as we can see. Then introducing the phaco probe with the chopper into the antechamber, starting the phaco emulsification with shaving the cortex and the epinucleus to present the nucleus. Then impale the phaco tip just close to the center with simultaneous movement of the chopper over the nucleus in the virtual cleavage between the nucleus and the cortex until reach the equator. Then anchor the equator with the chopper. Move the chopper towards the phaco tip with sideway movement to split the nucleus in two halves. Then rotate and impale the phaco tip again with simultaneous movement of the chopper into the equator, anchor the equator and move the chopper towards the phaco tip with sideway movement to split each half into two quadrants. Then repeat the same maneuver with each quadrant until chop this nucleus into small pieces to emulsify it by the phaco probe. Here, as we can see, hold and chop until complete emulsification of this cataract. By the end, you can see the posterior cortical shell, which protects your posterior capsule while doing the emulsification of this cataract. Now let's move to the second case. Here is the second case. The same thing is capsular rhexis, good size, 5.5 millimeter in diameter, complete hydrodissection and gentle hydrodelineation. Then, as usual, I prefer to do viscodissection, separate the cortex away from the nucleus, and use the chopper to rotate the nucleus to be sure it's free from the capsule. And after that, starting the emulsification as usual. Here is we can see rotation of the cataract. Now you can see introducing the phaco probe and the chopper into the antechamber, starting emulsification with the shaving of the cortex to present the nucleus. Then impale the phaco tip in the nucleus just close to the center with simultaneous movement of the chopper over the nucleus in the virtual cleavage between the cortex and the nucleus until reach the equator. Anchor the equator with the chopper, then move the chopper towards the phaco tip with sideway movement to split the nucleus in two halves. Then rotate the nucleus and repeat the same maneuver with impaling the phaco tip in the half of the nucleus. Move the chopper into the equator, anchor the equator, move the chopper towards the phaco tip with sideway movement to split the half in two quadrants. Then repeat the same maneuver with each quadrant until reach to small nuclear pieces to facilitate its emulsification with the phaco probe, as we can see. Here is at the end, we can see the posterior cortical shell, which protects the posterior capsule. Gentle emulsifying of this posterior cortical shell. And thank you for watching.